this used to have, this was the bed for the cosmos, and now the cosmos is over, so I removed them. And what I had done in spring is that I left the tulips in the soil because I wanted the foliage to die down, because what actually happens is that the food for the tulip is in the bulb. So now is the time for me to dig them up, and as you can see, they already have the root system and there is some green growth. Now obviously this is not going to have the same blossoms like last year, because tulips, they do tend to lose their strength as the years go by, but it doesn't matter. So I'm going to lift all of them up and then plant them around the garden and hope that they are going to naturalize. So it just means like really digging into the soil and making sure I don't disturb them. And you see, so now these are the ones that are going to later go into the garden. So that is what I'm actually going to do for this entire row. Just want to make sure I have the right kind. So this was the super parrot, which is a great one. This rose needs pruning, and of course I could tie it up, but then what's happening is that it's becoming leggy at the bottom because all the foliage is on the top, and then it becomes kind of naked at the bottom. So two reasons for the pruning: one for that, and the second thing is in winter we are going to have a lot of wind, and it's going to break, and that's going to damage the plant. So what I will do is that I'm going to prune it very hard now. So try to look for a node that's outward, so right there, and take that off, and that's actually going to help the plant. And as you see, there's already new growth. So if I cut there, then this branch is going to go in that direction, but I don't want that. So I'm going to really prune it back very hard. So I'm looking for the direction I want, which is here. That seems like it, and always at an angle, so the water can. It seems very drastic to do that, but it is good. It's better for the plant. Okay, now we come to this, and that, as you see, I already did that last year. That's the part where I had pruned, and this growth is all the fresh growth for this year. So I can go back here because there is a growth there and cut it right above that, and that's going to ensure that this growth is going to come out there next year for the next season. The years here are a little bit different, the growth here. So the same thing for this. I'm going to go here and cut right above that, and that's where the new growth is going to come. Arbutus shrub, and as you can see, they have these red fruits. Some say it's edible, but I really don't like the taste of it. But it seems like Coco is interested in the fruits. As you see, Coco, you want to eat the fruits? Yeah, do you want to eat them? But it's a lovely bush. It's got these very beautiful flowers, and then you have the fruits. And it's nice to have such kind of things in winter when everything else is not there anymore. So this is a good color addition to the garden. And over here, now this is something I wanted to show you. So this is a place where I had already put the tulips in, and they are already sprouting. Where did I see one? Oh, there it is. That just means that now I have to watch where I step, because that's another one. So I put this one in just to remind myself that this is where the cancer sprout is. So I need to be very careful about stepping here, but mostly this doggy needs to be careful. I have the poppies. So I saw one here. So that's a poppy. This isn't, of course, so that's rubbish. That needs to go. And so this is going to be quite interesting when it all blooms, because we'll have the pretty ranuncs and then we'll have the poppies. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit and see what happens. And now it's growing. I'm not sure if this is going to be the only season, if I keep harvesting it, if I keep taking the flowers, cutting the flowers, if they're still going to come again. But that's the ranunculus. So I'll just wait and see what happens. I haven't put in anything new as yet, so these are the old ones. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to clean it a little bit, so get rid of all the creeper things that choke the plants, and which leaves me just with the plant itself. And then in and between, so I have seen some poppy. That's Coco. Oh my goodness. Coco! Come here! She's in my strawberry bed. The anemones are doing the same thing. I didn't take them out, just like the ranuncs. And now they're actually sprouting. So I'm curious, because I don't know if they're going to have the same intensity or the same number of flowers per stem, but I'm just going to wait and see what happens. So the ranuncs, the anemones are blooming here. The other thing that's happening, maybe because it's turned cooler, and Aquilegias, they like the cooler weather, so you have the Aquilegia here as well. And I have really nice tufts of the foxglove back there, but as you see that the mint needs to be cut back, because this is now just wood and the real fresh growth is below, so I need to take care of that. And the achillas as well. But here we have new fresh growth of the nigella, so this is going to be beautiful, the growth of the nigella. And some freesias, which didn't bloom last year, interestingly, but now I can see the growth. So this is also going to be an interesting bed after all. So this is what happens when I didn't clean it, I didn't take things up, and now certain things are beginning to bloom, which is quite early actually for the season, but perhaps that's the way it is supposed to be. So I need to adjust the timing, which is different from the northern part. Lavender, not the ones that I'm growing, but these ones I bought, out of which 2 already died, so I need to take them off. And then the idea was to weave in the lavender in between the olive trees, and also to put some of the achillas. So this one I can see, because I cut it back after it bloomed the first time, so there's new flowers coming on. But the verbena, which is this needs to go, because now it's done. So the idea was also to have everything like woven in between. So this one I can take off, because they self-seed and it's going to come up, if not here then somewhere else. And trying to see if there is fresh growth on this, but it doesn't look like that. But that really doesn't matter, because this is going to bloom. I'm gonna put that away and then keep working on this to get rid of all of these things that don't belong here anymore, or that's just over. And then I can see this terrible grass that keeps, it's almost like couch grass, it's called, the dentichien here in France. And they're terrible. They're a terrible weed. They go everywhere. So I need to take them out. Yeah, just, it's never going to be clinical anyway. That's not the point. But at least to give room for the new growth. So this is the same thing, the other verbena that needs to go as well. So I'm just going to take it down. Not particularly careful about where I cut because they are so vigorous. They're going to grow. So this time in the garden is really just to take stock and to see what is growing, what's not growing, what needs to be pruned back, because everything gets thinned down to the bare minimums, right? Because leaves start to fall for most of the trees, and then you can see the structure of the branches and how the skeleton of the garden looks. And this is a very important place to start planning. So this is first of all taking stock, like I said, so just to go around and see what needs to be cut, what has to be moved, where are the new seedlings coming, and then to plan, because once you have the skeleton of the garden, that is when you can start putting the mass on it. It works a little bit differently here. This is what I'm learning, because not everything dies down. Like for example, just as an example, this one, this rose, this is the Lady of Shalott, and it keeps blooming, and I still have, I mean, of course it's some of them are already over, but I still have buds. Now this confuses me a little bit because I'm not sure if I should prune it or I shouldn't, but then the common sense thing to do would be to prune it, because this has had a very, very long run, a really long season, and now it's time for it to recuperate and recover a little bit, and not always think I need to constantly produce flowers. So a good thing to do would be to just go with your instincts and observe what's happening outside, and then just follow that, whatever that observation is. And for me, it really means that I'm going to prune it back, I'm going to feed the soil, which is something I always do with some good horse manure, and just take care of it a little bit, because it's blossomed and given so much of joy, and now it's time for it to recover, to get the strength for the next season, which is going to come a lot earlier here than in the northern part of Europe. So those are the main tasks actually right now in the garden, and I like this time where I can start to see what actually is happening and start planning for the next season. So I in the greenhouse, what happened was that I sowed some seeds. I sowed 2 trays. This is very interesting. So this is the Aquilichium, and that's the Nigella. Now Nigella, of course, is a very fast and a quick has a very quick growth. So these have sprouted and they look quite nice, and I'm not sure what kind it is. It could be the African Bride, what variety, or it could be just the blue white mix. I'm not sure. Do you see this praying mantis down there? That's the insect. That's great. and this is sprouted. Now they were both sown on the 20th of October, so that's almost a month, but 4 weeks. But this one did not, and which kind of tells me that either this has a very long germination period, so I am going to leave it on for a couple more weeks, just going to give it another chance, or maybe the seeds were just not stored properly, so they were not particularly good seeds. So that is something that I'm going to observe. But growth generally is going to be slower in the second half of the year. That's because of the run of the sun, and so everything that's sped up, which is when the sun moves towards the northern hemisphere, then of course it's faster, but it's natural that the growth is going to be slower. So I'm going to give it some time and see what happens.